You thought we were done? Think again. In part 1, we discovered the 10 most talked about stars, surrounded by whispers they never confirmed or denied. But Hollywood doesn't run out of secrets that easily. The next 10 names? They've prompted more late-night speculation, viral edits, and silent red carpet glances. Again, no labels, just rumors that never quite go away. Ready to get back to the mystery? Joe Jonas. It's funny, isn't it? Some rumors never fade, no matter how many years pass. And Joe Jonas? He's been at the center of that quiet storm for nearly 2 decades. Ever since the Jonas brothers burst onto the scene in the mid-2000s, Joe stood out. He wasn't just the middle brother with the tousled hair. There was something softer, more emotionally open about him. He smiled differently, hugged longer. And when he performed, there was always a sense that he wasn't just entertaining. He was expressing something personal, maybe even vulnerable. Fans started to notice early on. His friendships with the male band members and dancers weren't just close, they were intimate. His body language was electrifying. Tumblr accounts were built around GIFs of Joe leaning into his male friends, whispering in their ears, touching their hands. Was it just affection or something deeper? Tell us. The whispers only grew louder as Joe began to embrace boundary-blurring fashion choices. Lace tops, pearl necklaces, cropped leather jackets, spotlight-worthy nails. In interviews, he was calm, never defensive, never clarifying. When asked about his sexuality and style in 2018, he simply said, "People can wear whatever they want. It's all about confidence." Not exactly a confirmation, but certainly not a wall. Then there was his high-profile romance with Sophie Turner, married in Vegas in 2019, born in 2020, divorced in 2023. To the world, it was a love story. But to some longtime fans, it seemed complicated. Not because it wasn't real, but because it never quite cleared up the feeling that Joe was still holding something back. And after the divorce, the speculation took on another level. Since 2024, Joe's vibe has shifted. Subtly, but undeniably. He's bolder now, more fluid. In the way he dresses, the energy he gives off, the spaces he chooses to show up in. At Fashion Week, he's been seen in sheer mesh and silky fabrics, blending rockstar edge with runway softness. He's shown up at events celebrating designers like Ludovic de Saint-Sernin, icons in the world of queer fashion. And while he hasn't made statements, his associations speak volumes, from supporting artists like Troye Sivan and Omar Apollo, to embracing a style that feels far more liberated than the boy band image he once had to uphold. Is it a reinvention, a rebellion, or just Joe being Joe, finally and fully? He doesn't comment on the rumors. Ever. And that's what makes this so fascinating. Because in an age where most celebrities are rushing to get it out, pun intended, Joe Jonas just leaves it hanging in the air. And that silence? It doesn't feel like evasion. It feels like choice. So let's ask the real question. Is Joe Jonas simply evolving with the times, refusing to be pigeonholed by outdated labels? Or has he been telling his truth all along, just without having to explain it? Tell us what you see when you look at Joe. Because sometimes the story we think we know is still playing out before our eyes. Hugh Jackman. He's fought villains with claws, danced on Broadway, and sung his way into movie history. But when the curtain falls and the cameras stop rolling, there's one story about Hugh Jackman that refuses to fade. Not his acting, not his success. It's the quiet, unspoken question that's followed him since the early 2000s. Is he gay? No scandals, no leaks, just a nagging curiosity. Let's go back. In 2003, Hugh took to the stage as Peter Allen in The Boy from Oz, an openly gay singer-songwriter. It was a demanding role, full of glamour, sexiness, and tenderness. Jackman played the role with such ease, dancing in sequins, kissing his male co-stars, channeling Allen's charisma, that audiences were blown away. Critics were raving, but something else happened too. The whispers began, not in the tabloids, but among fans. Was Hugh just that good of an actor? Or was his acting closer to home? In the years since, he has become one of Hollywood's most bankable leading men. X-Men, Les Miserables, The Greatest Showman. His range was undeniable, but the rumors didn't go away. If anything, they got sharper. Why? Some pointed to his easygoing demeanor, his lack of public scandals, or his easy acceptance of emotional vulnerability on screen. Others focused on his 27-year marriage to Deborah Lee Furness, a marriage that seemed stable, private, even protective. She addressed the rumors head-on in 2013. If he were gay, he would be gay. A bold, loving statement, but that wasn't his voice. When asked, Hugh simply said, "That's not true, but I don't feel the need to comment on everything that's said about me." No denial, no discussion, just silence. Then in 2023, something changed. Jackman and Deborah Lee announced their separation. No drama, no accusations, just a general statement of growth, change, and mutual love. But to longtime observers, it felt like one chapter closed, and another, perhaps more private, began. In 2024 and now 2025, Hugh seemed softer, more open. Not because he said anything specific, he hadn't, but his presence had changed. He posted backstage dance videos. He shared long walks with his male friends, stage outings, and quiet moments alone. Not performances, not politics, just people. And yet, the whispers continued. Some called it illumination. Others said it was long overdue representation. But the truth is, he's never been confirmed. He's never been denied. He just lives. So what does it mean when a man like Hugh Jackman allows speculation to exist unguarded? Is that silence a form of self-protection? Or is it a kind of silent truth? You decide. Are we drawn to the mystery, or are we simply afraid of the answers we might get? Please tell us, respectfully, thoughtfully, how you read Hugh's story. Because sometimes the people we admire the most are the ones who never feel the need to explain themselves. Bradley Cooper. He's the Hollywood dream package. Actor, director, sensitive leading man with a jawline as beautiful as marble. But what makes Bradley Cooper the center of persistent gossip isn't just his talent or his charm. It's his silence. The way he's managed to stay famous without revealing every detail, especially when it comes to his private life. Because let's face it, Cooper has been surrounded by gay rumors for years. They didn't start with scandal. They didn't come from tabloids trying to destroy his image. They started, like most influential rumors, with a role. In 2001, Wet Hot American Summer achieved cult status, in part because of its audacious absurdity. And that was Bradley Cooper, in a rom-com scene, completely devoted to a male co-star. It was satire, but it didn't feel like satire. It felt oddly natural. So natural that some audiences didn't laugh. They cringed. Then came Silver Linings Playbook, A Star is Born, and most recently Maestro. Each role required emotional intimacy, public vulnerability, and a certain depth of romantic sensitivity that isn't always expected of Hollywood's leading men. And Bradley delivered it all. Convincingly. So convincingly that fans began to wonder, is he just that good of an actor? Or is there something else he's not saying? Let's talk about his relationships. Bradley has dated a number of women: Renee Zellweger, Zoe Saldana, Irina Shayk, with whom he shares a daughter. He was also briefly married to actress Jennifer Esposito in 2006, but the marriage only lasted 4 months. Nothing dramatic, just over. The kind of overture that often sparks speculation, especially when there's no explanation. In recent years, his name has been linked to supermodel Gigi Hadid. Since late 2023, they've been seen dining in New York, traveling together, and walking with her daughter. They look very happy. But even so, the gay rumors haven't gone away. Why? Some say it's because of how private he is. Bradley rarely talks about his personal life. When asked directly in 2011 if he was bothered by rumors about his sexual orientation, he didn't flinch. If people think I'm gay, great, that means I can play any role. Not a denial, not an admission, just vague. Calm, gentle, and entirely intentional. And then there's his long-standing bromance with Leonardo DiCaprio, Hollywood's most rumored bromance. The two have a deep friendship, rarely talk about it, and are almost never photographed together. In 2023, gossip blogs claimed that Cooper dumped Leo after getting serious with Gigi, supposedly to avoid trouble. Some fans took this as evidence of a deeper connection between the two. But there's no evidence, just absence and a long line of curiosity. So here we have it. A man who has undeniable romantic chemistry with men on screen. A private life so carefully managed that it borders on the secretive. And a denial, not of rumors, but of the need to respond to them. And maybe that's the point. In an age where celebrities tweet clarifications before they've even finished their morning coffee, Bradley Cooper's choice to stay silent speaks volumes. Maybe it's to protect his peace, maybe it's to refuse to participate in the narrative, or maybe, just maybe, it's a quiet way for the world to wonder. What do you think? His silence creates mystery or protects the truth? Tell us below. Because in Hollywood, some of the most compelling performances happen off-screen. George Clooney. People used to say George Clooney would never settle down, that he was too easy, too laid back, too good at walking away before things got serious. He wasn't the type to get married. He was an enigma. The man who lurked in the shadows of hotel lobbies, the smile behind his whiskey. And for a long time, that was exactly what he wanted. But behind the charm, the suits, the natural charisma, there was something else that quietly pursued him. Longer than any role, longer than any romance. The question never faded. Is George Clooney gay? It seemed absurd at first. He's been married to international human rights lawyer Amal Clooney since 2014. They have twins. They live in a villa on Lake Como. On paper, it's perfect. And maybe that's the point. Because for years, long before he met Amal, George Clooney's love life was a mystery. Not because it was empty, but because it always seemed staged. Dozens of tabloid romances, a string of girlfriends, all beautiful, all public, but none of them stuck. And when asked directly about his sexuality, Clooney didn't do what most leading men do. He didn't laugh, he didn't get defensive. He said this: "I'm not going to let anybody make it seem like being gay is a bad thing. My private life is private, and I'm very happy with that." That was in 2012, and he's held firm to that position ever since. No denial, no explanation. Just a quiet, determined refusal to consider the question a scandal. But what about the clues? In the 1990s, rumors swirled about Clooney and actor Noah Weil. The two were close on and off the set of ER. They were spotted hanging out together by paparazzi, perhaps just friends. But in the tabloids, it was framed differently. Then, in the 2000s, fans speculated about his relationship with longtime friend and producing partner Randy Gerber. The two vacationed frequently, sometimes alone. When Clooney married Amal, Gerber and his wife Cindy Crawford flew to Venice with him on a private boat. A nice moment between friends, or something more? No one knows. And that's the problem. There was never any evidence. There was never a leaked photo. There was never a clear explanation. But there was never a definitive denial, either. In a 2020 interview, when asked again about the persistent gay rumors, Clooney shrugged. "Honestly, I find it funny. I don't care. I've had to answer that question for 25 years. And if people still wonder, that's their business." And maybe that's why the story is so compelling. Because unlike others, Clooney never joined the panic. He didn't fight the rumor. He debunked it. It was a last-ditch move in a town that thrives on overreaction. And for that, some see him as a quiet revolutionary. So what do you think? Is George Clooney just a man of absolute privacy, so comfortable that he doesn't need to explain himself too much? Or is his silence a private message? Jeremy Renner. He walks into every room like he doesn't belong there. Head down, hands in pockets, voice low. Jeremy Renner has never run after the spotlight. It always finds him anyway. And when it does, it not only illuminates his acting, but also illuminates the questions he refuses to answer. He's become a global name through roles that aren't exactly light-hearted. Bomb disposal, government assassin, bow-wielding Avenger. But behind the stoic personas and press tour smiles, a softer story is taking shape. A story that has less to do with what he's playing and more to do with who people think he might be. The rumors began circulating in the early 2010s, right around the time his career exploded with The Hurt Locker, then The Avengers. At the height of his career, gossip sites and fan forums began to dissect everything: his lack of famous girlfriends, his extremely private lifestyle, And above all, a 2011 quote went viral. In an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, Renner was asked directly about the gay rumors. His response? "I don't care. Look at where we are in society. Who cares if you're gay?" To many, it was a refreshing response, calm, unflinching. But to others, it sounded like something else, a non-denial, a deliberate evasion. Then there were the rumors about his roommate, a longtime male friend who Renner allegedly lived with for years, paparazzi photos, TMZ speculation. A now infamous tabloid cover claimed Renner and his business partner were little more than co-owners of a house. No confirmation, no lawsuit, no public explanation, just silence. The whispers only grew louder in 2014 when Renner married Canadian model Sonny Pacheco. Less than 10 months later, they filed for divorce. In her filing, Sonny cited fraud as a reason for the split, though the documents never clarified what that meant. Of course, the media did. Was she hinting at Jeremy's sexual orientation? No one knows. She's never talked about it publicly. Neither has he. As for Renner, he's back to work, focusing on Marvel, music, and raising their daughter Ava. And again, nothing. Back to the present, 2025. After a life-threatening snowplow accident in 2023, Renner's public appearances have become more emotionally raw. Fans have praised his resilience. Some say it was the first time they've seen the real Jeremy. And still, the rumors linger in the shadows, unshaken. Because the truth is, Renner has never tried to quash them. And in Hollywood, where most actors rush to protect their image, that silence stands out. So what does it mean? Is he simply a man who values privacy above all else? Or has he chosen silence as a kind of silent protest to the labels, to the gossip, to the expectations? We're not here to answer for him, but it's worth asking. If someone never denies a rumor, does that make it more true or just more interesting? What do you think? Jacob Elordi, he doesn't chase fame. He lets it surround him, like smoke around a match that never quite goes out. Jacob Elordi walks around Hollywood like someone from another era, too polished, too calm, too beautiful to fully understand. And maybe that's why the rumors start. Not because he's done anything wrong, but because some people don't fit the mold, and that makes others uncomfortable. Since his breakout role in Euphoria, Elordi has become a new kind of leading man, masculine, melancholy, but unafraid of vulnerability. He wears pearl necklaces, drinks from tiny espresso cups, and once told an interviewer that he enjoys a quiet morning alone. In an industry that still demands that young male stars prove something with every action, Jacob's refusal to play that game has made him something of an enigma. And when someone becomes a mystery, the world starts to fill in the gaps. His previous relationships with women, Joey King, Zendaya, Olivia Jade, are well documented, but they never seem to quell the gossip. The chemistry he shares with his male co-stars in Euphoria and Saltburn only fuels the fire. The way he looks at Barry Keoghan in interviews, too long, too soft, the kind of eye contact that appears on TikTok with captions like "they're not acting." But the moment that sent social media into a tizzy came in 2023. During a red carpet interview, a reporter asked him to describe his perfect date. Elordi smiled and replied, "I'd cook for them. Doesn't matter who, just one person stays after dessert." A vague answer? Maybe. But fans heard something else. Deliberate neutrality. Then there was that viral moment in 2024 when Jacob appeared in a soft-focus ad campaign with another male model. The photos were sexy, intimate, nothing sexual, but enough to spark Reddit threads with hundreds of comments. But Jacob said nothing. No explanation, no joke, no denial, just silence. Some called it branding, others called it self-preservation. But whatever the reason, Jacob Elordi has become one of the few stars whose refusal to define himself has made him more compelling and more talked about. And here we are. A young actor playing queer-coded roles, attending queer-friendly events, and keeping his personal life more private than any script. And maybe that's the appeal. Because when someone is this beautiful, this calm, and this absent, people stop wondering if there's a secret. They start wondering what it is. Let's be clear. Jacob never said he was gay. He never said he wasn't. And in a world obsessed with definition, that makes him dangerous and unforgettable. Chace Crawford. Some people are born to be famous, others look like they were genetically designed for them. Chace Crawford falls into the latter category. The face, the jawline, the hair that refuses to break. Not only did he play Nate Archibald on Gossip Girl, he became the cultural epitome of the perfect man. But in Hollywood, perfection comes at a price. And in Crawford's case, that price is a lingering question. Is someone so good-looking actually straight? It sounds unfair, even ridiculous, but it's true. Ever since Gossip Girl debuted in 2007, fans have been speculating. There's no specific reason, just a bunch of little things. The clean-cut appearance, the calm demeanor. He doesn't have scandals, wild parties, or public relationships. To some, that may seem suspicious. To others, it may seem new. In 2008, as Gossip Girl dominated pop culture, rumors swirled about Chace Crawford's sexuality, fueled not by his own words, but by speculative gossip blogs. Sites like Perez Hilton hinted at possible same-sex relationships, often citing anonymous sources without proof. Chace never addressed these claims directly, letting the mystery linger while maintaining a quiet, private image. No evidence, no quotes, no photos, just insinuations. And the headline alone was enough to fuel years of speculation. Crawford responded calmly in a 2009 interview with GQ. If someone writes that I'm gay because I'm single and live in New York, then so be it. I'm not going to waste time denying it. He wasn't offended, he wasn't defensive. He just left it at that. And in doing so, he pulled off a moment that fans still cite as either the coolest guy move or the most careful denial in the history of teen drama. For a while, the noise died down. Crawford largely stayed out of the tabloids. He dated quietly, Ashley Greene, Erin Andrews, a few others, but not too publicly, too messy, or too long. In a world addicted to spectacle, Chace Crawford remained stubbornly normal. That in itself was suspicious. Then came The Boys. As The Deep, Crawford poked fun at his own chaste image, playing a narcissistic superhero with too many insecurities and not enough clothes. The showrunners knew what they were doing. So did he. And fans noticed the show leaned heavily into sexual ambiguity, dolphin jokes, full-body shots, latex. It's satire, but is it? And yet Chace remains silent. No declarations, no clarifications. Just a quiet truth. He's acting and enjoying it. Now in 2025, the whispers haven't stopped. He's still quiet, still polite, still unattached, and every time he steps onto a red carpet alone, the same questions flare up. But here's the thing, Chace Crawford doesn't seem to want to answer. And maybe that's why people keep asking. So we'll ask you, is this what happens when someone refuses to give the internet what it wants? Or is there something about the silence that makes people look twice? Ed Westwick. He didn't play the bad boy. He was the bad boy. Ed Westwick brought Chuck Bass to life on Gossip Girl, a character brimming with wealth, mystery, and just enough danger to make him unforgettable. But as the series exploded into pop culture, something strange happened. People stopped talking about Chuck and started talking about Ed. The voice, the tailored suits, the dark charm, everything seemed a little too smooth, too calculated, and to some fans, too perfect to be straight. Whispers about Westwick's sexuality began to quietly creep in. At first, it was fan fiction, pairings of Chuck and Nate. Then it was animated, long glances, light touches between him and Chace Crawford in interviews. Was it chemistry? Was it acting? Or was it something else entirely? Things got worse in 2009 when photos emerged of Ed hugging a male friend, intimate, casual, but ambiguous enough to go viral. The internet did what it does. Slow down, zoom in, ask questions. He didn't respond, and that silence became a pattern. Over the years, Ed dated actresses Jessica Soar and Tamara Francesconi, publicly, romantically, even. But to fans, it felt like a show. The speculation never stopped. In 2010, the New York Daily News ran a short article questioning Westwick's roommate situation with Chace Crawford, suggesting that their living arrangement might be more than just a platonic friendship. The article didn't say much, but it didn't have to be. The headline worked, and Ed, Still no comment. Then came the darker chapters. In 2017, Westwick faced multiple allegations of sexual misconduct from women, allegations he vehemently denied. He was investigated and eventually cleared of any criminal charges. But the damage to his public image was real. The tone of the rumors had changed. No longer lighthearted speculation. Now it was gossip wrapped up in something more serious. Something that blurred the line between curiosity and character assassination. Westwick never got mad. He went back to work, taking smaller roles, focusing on music, and occasionally posting pictures with his current girlfriend, Amy Jackson, a British Indian actress and model. But the rumors, they never really go away. Not because of anything he says, but because he never says anything. And perhaps that's the here. In the absence of certainty, people make up their own stories. So what are we to make of a man like Ed Westwick? Is he a victim of his own mystique, a too convincing actor for his own good, or has his silence allowed the rumors to grow louder than the truth? That, as always, is up to you. Noah Centineo. There was always that one guy in high school. He wrote poetry on his hand, asked if you believed in energy. It looked like he meditated in the morning and listened to Frank Ocean when no one was watching. That was Noah Centineo, but let's make him famous on Netflix. After To All the Boys I've Loved Before, Noah wasn't just a breakout star. He became the internet's boyfriend, soft-spoken, hoodie-wearing, the kind of guy who would say, "I miss you" just for fun. For a moment it seemed like Hollywood had found a new kind of leading man. Sensitive, self-aware, maybe even emotionally evolved. But that's where the questions started. Because Noah Centineo doesn't act like other lovebirds. He doesn't rush into highly publicized romances. He doesn't post longing traps. Instead, he posted long, abstract captions about love, vulnerability, and connection, without ever defining what those connections looked like. In an early interview, when asked about attraction, he said, "I believe love is infinite." A simple statement, but for fans accustomed to stars drawing clear lines, it felt like an open window. From there, the speculation began. Fan edits were everywhere, pairing him with male co-stars, pointing out his soft body language in interviews, analyzing the way he embraced people of all genders. His easy affection became the subject of TikToks, Tumblr threads, and YouTube deep dives. Is he gay? Is he gay baiting? Or is it just Gen Z? Noah, to his credit, never scoffs at the rumors. He also never addresses them directly. Instead, he leans toward ambiguity. He talks more about energy than labels. He lets people draw their own conclusions. In a culture where silence is still considered masculine, Noah has done something quietly radical. He's still soft. He talks about therapy. He talks about femininity. He wears rings and pastel crop tops without a second thought. He stopped trying to be cool and started being whatever feels right to him. His dating life has remained relatively quiet. He went public with model Alexis Renner in 2019, and then there were brief rumors that he was getting close to actress Stasi Karanicolaou. But even those relationships didn't play out like typical Hollywood couples. No excessive PDA, no red carpet statements, just whispers, a few photos, and then things slowly faded. In 2022, fans began to notice a change in the way Noah presented himself. His fashion became softer, more fluid. He began collaborating with indie artists, pursuing minimalist projects, and staying out of the spotlight. Even his social media presence changed. Less about the look, more about the purpose. When someone finally asked him on a live stream about the endless LGBTQ+ rumors, Noah didn't shut up. He smiled. "People will talk. Let them talk," he said. And that was it. No jokes, no explanations, just a calm silence. And maybe that's what makes Noah Centineo so compelling, not because he confirms or denies, but because he's found a way to live in the middle without apologizing. So what do you think? Is Noah just a master of modern branding? Or is he quietly walking his own truth, one cryptic post at a time? Shia LaBeouf. You never skim past a headline with his name on it. You click, you read. And no matter how strange, how heartbreaking, how wonderful the story is, you believe. Because when it comes to Shia LaBeouf, the only rule is expect the unexpected. He is not your average hottie. He is not your average anybody. He is a man who has turned breakdowns into spectacle, apologies into art, and silence into something powerful. And somewhere in that chaos, beneath the scandals, the indie films, the ripped magazines, there's a whisper that never dies. Not about the arrests, not about the rehab, but about who he really is when the cameras are off. So ask him, gently but out loud, is Shia LaBeouf gay? To be clear, he has never said so. And in public, he has dated some famous women, Mia Goth, FKA Twigs, Carey Mulligan. He has even been married. But like everything else about him, things have never been simple. Back in 2014, Shia starred in Nymphomaniac, a Lars von Trier film that blurred the lines between acting and real intimacy. Around the same time, he created an artwork called I Am Sorry. For 5 days, he sat silently in a room, wearing a paper bag that read, I am not famous anymore. Strangers were allowed in one by one to sit with him, confront him, cry, or just watch. And some say what happens in that space goes beyond acting. Whispers began to circulate. Stories of a male guest, of boundaries being broken, of tension that was more than just art. There were no cameras, no confirmation, but it didn't matter. The internet had its own theories. Shia never commented on it. He didn't confirm. He didn't deny. And somehow that just made it all the bigger. What's undeniable is that he frequently chooses roles that defy masculinity. In Honey Boy, a semi-autobiographical film, he plays a deeply flawed, emotionally manipulative father, born of his own childhood trauma. It's raw, exposed, and incredibly vulnerable. Then, in American Honey, Fury, and Pieces of a Woman, he played broken men, either seeking or drifting away from traditional tough guy stereotypes. Even his fashion choices, sloppy one day, sleek the next, seemed to reject binary expectations. He was seen in floral jackets, eyeliner, soft leather boots. In 2021, a blurry photo circulated online, allegedly of Shia at an underground gay art event in Los Angeles. No major media outlets reported it. No official confirmation was given. But fan forums exploded, and speculation arose, and then there was the quote. From a small interview from the early 2010s, archived deep within YouTube. Love doesn't ask what body it lives in. Whether that was a character line or his own belief, no one knows. But for many, it was enough. Don't forget, Shia has always lived in extremes. From violent fights to deeply spiritual interviews, he's oscillated between chaos and clarity. He's been sober, he's publicly apologized, he's disappeared, only to return, more brash, more revealing. So is this just another layer of mystery? A method actor too good at blurring fact and fiction? Or has he been telling us something all along, just never directly? And that's where we turn to you. Is Shia LaBeouf too complicated to fit into a headline? Or is his silence always the answer? They never say it, but through the roles they play, the stories they tell, and the silences they maintain, the questions never stop. Perhaps some truths are not spoken, but lived. If this video has given you a new perspective on these stars, please like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that challenge what we think we know. Your voice matters, especially in the space between silence and speculation.